Right, good morning. This video is a revision video for GCSE Higher for Constructions, Loci, and looking at regions on diagrams where things may or may not happen. What we're going to look at today is we're going to look at two particular questions which cover most of the skills required in order to do them. Here's the first question that we're going to be looking at today. A diagram shows a plan, and here's a non-scale drawing of this plan of a small public garden next to a canal. There are two trees, and here they are. They are 20 metres apart, and both are 8 metres from the canal. There's a bench to be placed in the garden. It must be within 12 metres of each of the trees, so within 12 metres of each of the trees, but further than 4 metres from the canal. Draw an accurate sketch of the garden using a scale of 1 centimetre to represent 2 metres. Clearly indicate on the diagram where the bench can be placed. So we need a scale drawing. Now, in a GCSE exam, they're going to give you something, they're probably going to give you a starting point, but we don't have a starting point, so we're going to construct the whole diagram. Now, you can do this with me if you want to. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to construct this 20 metre line. Now, this 20 metre line, we know we're using 1 centimetre to 2 metres, so this is going to be 10 centimetres. This is going to be 4 centimetres. And so we're going to construct those to begin with. Now, what I'm actually going to do here is use some common techniques, which is not to draw a 10 centimetre line. It's to draw a line which is longer than 10 centimetres, and then actually just place my ruler against the line and say, okay, so I have one tree here and I have one tree there. So here are my trees. I'm going to write this on. So here we have a tree, and here we have another tree. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to begin my constructions. Now I actually need the canal line. I need to be parallel to this, and I need this to be 8 metres away, which is 4 centimetres. Now it's very convenient. I'm going to use a technique to construct this really quickly. I'm going to use the idea of a 3-4-5 triangle here. So we know what one of those looks like. We know that if I have a triangle where this is 3 centimetres and this is 5 centimetres, I know that this line here is going to be 4, and that's going to be a right angle. So what I'm going to do is construct a 3-4-5 triangle here, and then I'm going to construct one here. And that's going to give me my 4 centimetre lines. They're going to be perpendicular. I can then join those two lines up and get the canal. So using my my ruler and compasses, bear in mind we only have a ruler and compasses to use. I'm going to open my ruler and compasses to 3 centimetres. There it is. And I'm going to draw an arc there. I'm going to do the other one at the same time. So while I've got it open at 3, and there we go. So bear in mind I'm doing 2, 3, 4, 5 triangles. Now this is the 3 centimetre line, so I'm now going to draw the 5 centimetre line, or the 5 centimetre arc. There we are. And of course the 5 centimetre arc is going to be this line here. So I'm just going to place my set of compasses on there. And I'm going to draw an arc like that, and then I'm going to do the same over here. Now you'll notice with the set of compasses I never touch both arms at the same time. Never touch, never put yourself in that position where you're holding them like that. That's when you'll move them, and you want to make sure your compasses are really tight when they're before you go into an exam. You want to make sure you've had a screwdriver on these and you've made these absolutely tight. Mine are. And now I'm going to do the 4 centimetre line, so I'm going to put my compass point on that corner of the triangle. I'm not actually going to draw the triangles in completely. So there's one, and here's the other one. There we go. Now, what I should now find is with a bit of jiggery pokery, is I put my ruler on there. And we should find that if I put a straight line through there, like that, that these two lines are parallel, and this is exactly 4 centimetres, and it is, and that's great. So I'm going to label this up as canal. There we have it. And I'm just going to put some measurements on this because it's a scale drawing. So I'm just going to put the measurements on, and I'm going to nick the measurements from the question. So there's the question. So I'm going to take the measurements from the question, and this is going to be 8 metres, and the distance between the trees I know is 10 centimetres. I'm just checking that, and I'm just going to put that on there like that as 20 metres. Right, so now I'm going to read the next parts of the question. A bench is to be placed in the garden. It must be within 12 metres of each of the trees. Good. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do is within 12 metres, that's 6 centimetres of either of the trees. So I'm going to open my compasses to 6 centimetres, that's 12 metres. And I'm just going to draw a circle around the trees. Now, in actual fact, you should have a circle all the way around the trees. I'm not going to need a circle all around the trees because I only need it within the garden. So I only need a part of the circle. So I'm just going to draw an arc from that tree. And then I'm going to do the same from this tree. There we are. So I've now got my 2 arcs. And I know that my tree can only be in here. It can't be, it's got to be, sorry, my bench has to be in here somewhere. But there's another precondition, and the other precondition is this. It says the trees must be further than 4 metres from the canal. Right, okay, so so now if I want further than 4 metres from the canal, right, so I need this halfway point along this 8 metre line, this 4 centimetre line. So that line isn't actually there. I mean, if it makes you more comfortable, I'll draw it in, but it's not actually there. But it's I'll just draw it in dotted. It makes it a little bit more comfortable for some people. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bisect this line. I'm not going to measure it. There are other ways of doing this, but I'm going to bisect it. So bisecting, I open the compasses more than halfway along the line, and I draw myself as the fish diagram. So I'll draw myself the full fish. Some of you will have remembered it as the fish diagram, I'm sure. So, oops. There we are. So there's my fish. And now if I join the head and tail of my fish, like that, I should be able to just run a line through there. Now this line is obviously 4 metres from the canal, so I'll put that in. And now I can see that my bench can only go in this area that I'm going to shade in there like that. Look. That a bit better. Okay, there we go, look. And my bench has to be in here. And I'm going to label my diagram clearly with bench and a big arrow showing that's where the bench is, because I don't want the examiner to get that wrong. So let's just look at all the skills we've used in doing this particular diagram. We've used the idea of a 3-4-5 triangle and constructing a 3-4-5 triangle. So I've constructed a triangle during this. What else have I done? I have bisected a line. So we've looked at bisecting a line. Okay. We've looked at using the compass point on the tree and drawing an arc. This is the locus of all points which are 6 metres away. So everything inside the circle would be less than 6 metres away. So we've looked at a locus of a point. Okay. We then looked at finding a region. So we've used all of those skills within this to draw that diagram and to find exactly where the bench can go. Okay? Excellent. Right, so let's put that aside and we'll do a second question. Here's the second question, and this question is somewhat more complicated. The diagram below shows the plan of a garden in the shape of a rectangle. And here it is. It measures 12 by 14. A tree growing on the boundary, DC, here it's shown, is 4 metres from the corner, C, yep. A new tree is to be planted, aha. It must not be within 4 metres of the old tree. It mustn't be within 4 metres of that, right. So that means I'm going to have to draw a circle around that tree. I know that. I'm going to have a locus of points and I can't be inside that region. It's to be equidistant from both DC and BC. So it's to be equidistant from DC and BC, and it must not be within 4 metres of the house. So we're going to use some of the same tactics we used before in order to draw this. Draw an accurate diagram of the garden. 1 centimetre represents 1 metre. Clearly indicate on the diagram where the tree can be planted. Okay, so I'm going to use the same tactics as I've used before, and that is that when I draw this line AD, I don't actually need to draw the house because it doesn't tell me how big it is. But I'm not. When I draw this line AD, I'm not going to draw it 14 centimetres long. I'm actually going to draw it longer than 14 centimetres. So constructing it from first principles, what I'm actually going to do here is I'm just going to draw that line on there. I'm just trying to look at my diagram, my piece of paper. So there we go. It's a bit longer than 14, quite a bit longer than 14. Now what I'm going to do is I need this to be a right angle, so I need that to be perpendicular, or these two lines to be AD and DC to be perpendicular. I need AD and AB to be perpendicular, and I don't have a protractor here. I only have a ruler and compasses. So I'm going to do this by doing a right angle through a point. So the first thing I'm going to do is just set up my 14 centimetres. So here it is. It's there. To there, and those are my points A and D. I'm just going to label those now so I know exactly what I'm doing. Now that's 14 centimetres. So I'll just put another little line in there and just put 14 meters on there, just so I know what I'm doing. Get rid of that ruler. Right. I now want to construct a perpendicular through a point, so I'm going to do a perpendicular through D. Now the way that we do that is dead easy. A perpendicular through a point is the same as drawing a perpendicular bisector, but before you do it, you just I'm just going to make sure it's going to work here. Yeah, it is. So what I'm going to do is just open my compasses. I'm going to make 2 arcs like that. Now when we do a perpendicular, what I'm going to do is bisect these 2 points. So when I bisect them, I put my compasses into one end, I open the compasses to more than halfway, and now I do my fish diagram. Now I know I can see that's going to run off the paper, so I'm just going to narrow that down a little bit. So there's my fish diagram. Now I am aware that you might not, oh dear, be able to see. Oh, damn, compasses come off there. Look, practicalities of doing this. I'm not sure whether that's just missed the top there. Okay, you can see that's on camera now. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to join the top and the bottom of my fish. And if I join the top, bottom of my fish, and if I've been very accurate, it should go through that point there, and it looks like it does. And again, you see, I'm not going to measure that line, I'm just going to pop it in. And now I'm going to just measure the 12 centimetres that it would be. It's going to come down to there. So that's going to be my point C. Now what I'm going to do is just replicate that diagram over here to get the other 12 centimetre side down to the point B down in the corner, down here. So again, I'm just going to draw another fish diagram. So perpendicular through a point. I'll just two little arcs like that. I go onto the first arc, I open my compasses more than halfway, and now we're just going to draw a fish diagram, as I call it. And you'll notice again, I don't ever, it's always the left-handed ones that are difficult. There we go. I don't ever handle both sides of the compasses at the same time. Once it's set up at a certain dimension, I leave it alone. So we've now done a bisecting. We've done bisecting a line again. However, we've done a perpendicular through a particular point, which is a construction you should know how to do. I'm then going to put that line in like that. So and I'll now measure it. So you notice that I measure my lines afterwards. I don't do them beforehand. So this will be the point on my diagram. This will be point B. So I'll put point B in here like that. I'm going to indicate that. And now I'm just going to join that other line up. So I'm going to be really accurate. So what you notice here is really sharp pencil, which you should be noticing. Really, really sharp pencil. So this is the house. Okay, there's the house. Right, so now I want to put on some more things. I want to put on my dimension here. That's not a construction line, this is just a measurement line, so this is 12 meters. You can see that. And now I need to know where the old tree is. I don't need a set of compasses to do this because I can measure it, but I will measure from both ends at the same time and check that I'm absolutely on. So there we go. That is the tree. So this is the old tree. And you can see now that what I've got is I've got the diagram that they gave us, but I've got it absolutely accurately, only drawn with a ruler and a set of compasses. Now in a GCSE exam, it's likely they would give you this diagram drawn accurately, but you can't guarantee it. So now, I'm going to just obey the question, or look at the question. It is so a new tree is to be planted. It must not be within 4 meters of the old tree. Right, so it can't be within 4 meters of the old tree. Well, we know what we're doing with this. We're getting my ruler, we're getting my set of compasses, and we're opening that to exactly 4 centimeters. That's a happy coincidence. There we go. And we know that that means I've got to draw a circle on here. So I won't draw the full circle because clearly the full circle will go outside the garden and that would be useless. So I'm going to draw a semicircle on there like that. I can't be in that region when I plant my new tree. My second thing is that I need to be, apparently, it cannot be within 4 meters of the house. Okay, so, well, there's 2 ways of doing this. It doesn't really matter. You don't really need to use a set of compasses for this, so I won't. But within 4 meters of the house, I have, if I just draw 2 points here, which are exactly 4 centimeters from the house, or 4 meters on our scale, I can now draw a line in that. Okay, so it can't be in this region, it can't be in that region, it can't be in this region either. So so I know it's somewhere in the rest of the garden, where this tree's going. It must be equidistant from sides DC and BC. So it's now got to be equidistant from DC and BC. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do I'm going to bisect the angle DCB. I'm going to bisect that angle. Now we know actually that's a 45-degree angle, but the whole point here is this is ruler and compasses only. So there's no good doing that with a protractor. You won't get the marks for it. You need to see the construction lines for doing this. Now the construction lines for bisecting an angle are open your set of compasses, doesn't matter how wide, don't need a ruler, just set them, but once I've set them, they're set. So now I draw an arc, and I've often said this looks like an eyeball. This one won't look very much like an eyeball. And then without altering my compasses, I make another arc here, and then I go to that intersection, I make another arc there. So I've now bisected the angle, yeah? And if I join that little thing there, that intersect up with the corner, we will have bisected the angle. So there is the bisection of the angle. And I'll take that line all the way through the diagram. Now that line represents the tree. The new tree can go anywhere on that line. So it can go anywhere on that line between this point here and this point here. So it now says indicate clearly on the diagram. Okay, well, what I'll do then is I'll give these 2 points names. So I'll call this P and I'll call this Q. And I will write on the diagram, I will write new tree on this line between P and Q, not in shaded area. And I will indicate that it's this line with a big arrow, because I want the examiner to, I'm making it obvious for the examiner, and I don't want it in the shaded areas, and the shaded areas are going to be this area here, and this area over here, where we would be too close to the house. Now, if we look at all the skills we've used during this question, there are quite a lot. We've done a perpendicular through a point, so that's worth noticing, perpendicular through a point. So we've done that. We've done a perpendicular bisector as part of this. We did one of those in the last question as well. So we've done perpendicular bisector. Bearing in mind, we bisected between this point here and that point there. Okay. We bisected an angle. Which we did here. Remember, we put our compasses on here, we opened it, we did an arc, we put our compasses on both of these 2 points, and drew these 2 arcs here. Where these 2 arcs intersect, we joined that to the corner. So we've done an angle bisector. This is the locus of all points which are equidistant from the tree and are exactly, no, they're not. This line here is the locus of all points which are 4 meters from the old tree. This line here is the locus of all points which are equidistant from DC and BC. So we've done some loci. We've done a locus of a point. And 2 lines. So we've done 2 loci problems there. And now we've made very clear that we've indicated exactly the area of the problem, or where the solution to the problem lies, and we've made that very obvious. There endeth the lesson for today.